Over the years, a lot of Five Nights at Freddy's books have been released, from graphic novels to books to choose your own adventures to encyclopedias. There's been a ton of FNAF books that have released. One I think a lot of people forget is the FNAF movie novel. A lot of people forget the book exists because why read the book when you can watch the movie? And that's what I thought as well, until I bought the book and I read it, and there's a lot of differences between the book and the movie, so I'm gonna go through those differences in this video. One thing that we learned from the novel is that Hank and Carl are actually father and son. We also learned that the night guard's name is Bob. On top of that, we get more lore about Ness, which is Matt Pat's character. And we actually got to learn about Mike and his family and his past, and how he has sort of a relationship for Vanessa that is more obvious in the book than it is the movie. On top of that, we learned a little more about Max and how she has a crush on Mike, but Mike doesn't seem to give her any attention. That's why she betrays Mike and wants to destroy the pizzeria. The book confirms that Golden Freddy kills Aunt Jay, and another funny thing about the book is that Carl actually pees on the stage where the animatronics are on, which I find so funny, and Mike has to clean it up when he's cleaning up the pizzeria. Now, how's the book itself? I would say it's just okay. It's nice getting a bit of the extra information about the characters, but overall it's not really necessary for you to read to understand the movie. You can go and watch the movie and you'd be just fine, but the book gives it that little extra information to where you can understand what's going on a little better. So overall, the book is alright. It does have some errors as well in the book, so it definitely feels rushed. But check it out if you can, if you have the money for it. And that's all, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. And
The FNAF movie novel was released after the movie, and it gave us a lot of context that the movie failed to provide. For example, it told us that Hank and Carl are father and son. Carl pees on the stage where the animatronics are at before he goes to the kitchen. We also learned that Max has a crush on Mike. Mike sees Garrett's ghost before the yellow rabbit walks in. That's the tip of the iceberg of differences between the FNAF movie and the novel. The novel is plagued with grammatical errors, but is a great read if you want some context before the movie. And we're gonna get a FNAF 2 movie novel in May.
there's a lot of Five Nights at Freddy's books out there, from graphic novels, from encyclopedias, from interactive novels, but the book I want to talk about today is the FNAF movie novel. Now, I already did a review of this book, but I'm going to talk about why. Why does this book exist? So, that's what we'll be talking about in today's video. The novel was only released 2 months after the FNAF movie came out. I already made a full video on the review for the book, but I'll give you a quick summary. I thought it was okay. It was nice to give us some important information that the movie failed to provide, but the book did feel rushed though. There was a lot of grammatical mistakes, and the writing was kind of sloppy. While rereading this book, I had a question in mind. Why does this book exist? I have 2 theories on why this book exists. Theory number 1 is to give us additional context that the movie failed to provide. I heard that the book is actually based off the rated R script that never got finished. This book does a great job of giving us context behind a lot of the characters and their motives. I made a full video on that, so I'll play some of the clips from that. I'm gonna go through those differences in this video. One thing that we learned from the novel is that Hank and Carl are actually father and son. We also learned that the night guard's name is Bob. On top of that, we get more lore about Ness, which is Matt Pat's character. And we actually got to learn about Mike and his family and his past, and how he has sort of a relationship for Vanessa that is more obvious in the book than it is the movie. On top of that, we learned a little more about Max and how she has a crush on Mike, but Mike doesn't seem to give her any attention. That's why she betrays Mike and wants to destroy the pizzeria. The book confirms that Golden Freddy kills Aunt Jay, and another funny thing about the book is that Carl actually pees on the stage where the animatronics are on, which I find so funny, and Mike has to clean it up when he's cleaning up the pizzeria. That was just the tip of the iceberg of all the differences between the novel and the movie. Now, the second theory on why this book exists is a theory I believe in, and it's that Scholastic just made the book for money. The book feels rushed, so obviously it feels like they've rushed this book just to capitalize on the hype of the FNAF movie. I think the book did good because we're going to have a second one coming out in May for the second Five Nights at Freddy's movie. But I also think it failed because when I mentioned to someone, hey, do you know about the FNAF movie novel, they've never heard of it before. Scholastic is a very greedy company, so I wouldn't be surprised they made this book just to capitalize on the FNAF movie. Now, movie novel adaptations aren't a new thing. FNAF is not the first one to do this. Many companies / IPs have done this in the past. Now let's answer the question, why was this book made? Well, I feel like it was made just to make money. I don't feel like it was anything special. I think it's just a cash grab. Are you? Yes, you, a FNAF fan? Well, I have some new Five Nights at Freddy's themed merchandise available on my shop. We have a Survive the Night hat, out of order t-shirt, and we have a FNAF 3 themed hoodie. So check out the new merch drops. Alright, that's all for this video. Make sure to like and subscribe.
When I mentioned that the first FNAF movie has a novel, a lot of people are confused and they actually don't know that the first one exists. But yes, there is a FNAF movie novel for the first one. But recently with the second FNAF movie, they also released a second FNAF movie novel. And I'm going to be doing a review of that. And so there will be some spoilers ahead talking about the movie and the novel itself. So let's get the video started. So what makes this novel different from the first one? Well, it includes 8 pages of photos, which are all found in the middle of the book, and that's basically it. Compared to the first one, it's basically a similar idea, where it's just the first or second movie, just with some things changed in it. So how's the book itself? It's really bad. I mean, you take the bad writing of the second movie, and you make some of the characters worse. So let me talk, before we even start, let's talk about the differences in this book. So this book has a few differences. So in the beginning of the book, in the movie, Matthew Lillard, or William Afton, does this little announcement from the pizzeria. In the book, he does that, but Charlotte Emily, which is the little kid in the beginning of the movie, covers her ears. But in the movie, actual movie itself, it's just title cards that play, the Universal title card and the Blumhouse title card while he's speaking. In addition, after Charlotte Emily dies, we actually get a scene where Lisa looks through the newspapers of the tragedies of the original location. Well, in the movie, I believe, is that same scene that from the intro credits. So in the intro credits, it shows the newspaper clippings of the tragedy of the original location that happened at the original location. And so it has something similar in this book, but Lisa's going through the newspapers instead of having, the credits. In the novel, after Charlotte listens to William's announcement, the animatronics actually perform Toy Chica, Toy Bonnie, and Toy Freddy. And in the movie, we don't actually see any performances, which is a problem I had with the movie. I wish we had seen more toys in action, but yeah, the novel actually covers that as well. So I want to talk about some of the character differences in this book, because there is a lot of differences when it comes to the character development in this book. A lot of them stays the same, but I want to talk about Jeremiah and Michael Afton. So I pulled up page 40 of the book, and they're talking about Abby as she leaves, and this is what Jeremiah says. Jeremiah nodded. She's going to be a looker too when she gets older. Mind you, Abby is still a kid in this book. So not only did they make him a creep and a pedophile as well. And so let's talk about Mike Afton a little bit. He stays relatively the same besides him going crazy like the Joker, but there's something different. So when Alex dies, which is the guy who got killed by the mango, he actually just starts laughing, like I mentioned earlier, like the Joker. I don't know how I feel about that, how he's a crazy maniac like William, but that's a difference I've noticed as well. Another difference I noticed is that when Lisa, being possessed by the puppet, holds Vanessa, she holds her upside down. One change I noticed with the FNAF 2 novel compared to the movie was that in the movie, the 3 guys that discover Springtrap, they actually leave, and then his eyes turn blue, when his one eye turned blue. In the novel, it's actually one of the guys actually see his eye turn blue. So that's a difference I noticed as well. Like I mentioned, this book advertises includes 8 pages of photos. So we were expecting, new, unique behind-the-scenes photos, and they're just screenshots from the movie. I think they just did the bare minimum and just included photos that you could just find online. I wish it was like exclusive behind the scenes, but I mean, they took the lazy way out. I didn't expect much from this book, but I'm surprised they even made a second movie novel. I mean, when I talk about the first one, people don't even know the first one even came out. So how do I feel about this book?
This book is possibly the worst FNAF book I've ever read. It was such a drag to read. It was like, because I didn't like the second FNAF movie. I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't like the second one. So I didn't like the writing. That's why I think it's the worst FNAF movie, because the FNAF 2 movie writing is horrible. And so you carry that onto this book. You make the characters worse. You make Jeremiah worse. You make Mike Afton worse. You make them creeps. And so you just ruin the book. This book could have fixed the problems that the movie had, but instead they chose the lazy way out and they just copy and pasted the movie into here and made the characters worse. Now, I'm not dissing on the author as well. They probably don't even have a say in this. It's Scholastic, so they just probably made this for money. But I really wish, I don't know what happened. I used to believe that Scott Cawthon had, his hands in everything when it comes to quality control and insurance. Yeah, it does not feel like that here, because it feels like Scott, just like, hey, just whatever, do whatever. We have a FNAF 2 movie, you have the rights to it, do whatever you want. And it kind of reminds me of with the FNAF 1 novel, where they made Doug a creep, and Scott had to say, hey, that's not canon. I really hope they do that here with Jeremiah, and especially Mike Afton. Just making them creeps. It's horrible. I just hate reading that. So I hope Scott comes out and says, yeah, the Jeremiah and Mike Afton in these books are not canon. This is horrible. I just hated reading this. It luckily doesn't have as many grammar problems as the first book did, but there's still problems with it. And it doesn't feel as rushed as the first one, but it's still really bad. I didn't think the first one was the worst book ever. I thought it was just a bad, lazy attempt for a cash grab. This is just worse. I had to stop at some points just to, I couldn't bring myself to, finish reading. I can't finish this movie in one sitting. I just get really bored because, the second movie is not good. I think it's worse than the first one. Story-wise, because at least the first one had a story. I don't even know what's happening in this book, but or in this movie. So, would I recommend this book to anyone? No. Unless you're a big fan of the second novel, then go ahead. But this is a pass. This is just lazy. Even with the photos, come on. They couldn't choose behind the scenes. They chose screenshots that you can find online of the movie. I just find it so lazy, man. I feel like now FNAF has become a cash cow for these companies, and I wish Scott would stop that. I wish Scott would say, no, I need some quality products, but no, we keep getting, the bad movie, and then with Secret of the Mimic VR as well, I still gotta do a video on that, but I've heard the controversy about that, how it's basically just a lazy port. Steelwool's outsourced the VR, development, even though they are a VR team, which makes no sense, and the build was almost last minute as well. So I'm very disappointed in this book. I didn't expect much. When I heard they were gonna make a second novel, I was like, why not? A good amount of people actually saw this book and saw some of the pages early, and there was a lot of controversy before this book even released, especially with the Jeremiah being like a pedophile in a way. So I don't know, man. I didn't expect much. My standards were kind of low on the floor, but this is just bad. This is a new bad. This might be compared to the encyclopedia, which is horrible and it gets so many things wrong. This is the worst FNAF book. This book brings nothing to the table. It does not introduce anything new, and the things it does introduce just are meaningless. So if you want to get this book, go ahead. This book is $15 here in the United States, which is just wild to think about. Because if you compare it to the price of the first one, which is $13, yeah, they're not great books, but I can't believe I have to, stop reading a book because it's that bad. So this might be the worst FNAF book. And in the title of the thumbnail it says, FNAF fans deserve better. We do deserve better. We don't deserve this crap. We deserve a better written story, better books. We deserve better things. Not because we're entitled to it, because this is basically just slop at this point. So that's my basic review of the FNAF 2 novel. I'm sorry it's negative.
I try to be positive with this book, but you know, with the FNAF 2 movie being bad, worse than the first one, but then comes to story as well, I'm sorry guys, this is the past. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. When the FNAF movies came out, they also made novels of the movies. Well, they have some differences. They are basically almost exactly like the movies. But today in this video, I'm going to go over why do these books exist and what purpose do they serve. So let's start the video. So the first FNAF movie novel released a couple months after the FNAF movie came out. And so when people were reading this book, they noticed some differences. And it was very different compared to the first FNAF movie, where there's a lot of scenes that were changed or even added. So that was one benefit of the books compared to the movies, is that they give additional context that is never explained or shown in the movie. While yes, a lot of people were complaining about the quality of the writing and the grammatical problems it had, overall this book was a decent read if you liked the FNAF movie and needed more context on what happened in the movie. But the best part about this is that even if you don't read the book, you're not missing out on much. So it's not like they're gatekeeping a lot of lore or knowledge behind the book to understand the first FNAF movie. Now, one interesting about this is that there was a theory going around that this book was actually supposed to be the rated R script of the FNAF movie, because it had a lot of similarities to the script. But at the end of the day, you know, we still don't know. But that was just a big rumor that was flying around. And a couple months after the FNAF 2 movie released, we got our second novel. Now the difference between this one and the first one is that it came with 8 pages inside the book. It's in between the book in the middle, and so they're just basic images you could find on Google. So before the book even came out, people were able to find this book in some of the bookstores, and when people read it, they were very disappointed. You see, the FNAF 2 movie wasn't received well by normal people. Obviously the fans liked it, but to those who never liked Five Nights at Freddy's or new to the series, they thought the movie was boring and worse than the first one. Now, I made a review on both of these novels, especially the second one, where I think this is actually the worst FNAF book out there, because you take the bad writing of the FNAF 2 movie and you make the characters even worse. They made them more creepy in the second movie, when I made my creepy more like creeps. And so this book had a lot of controversy before it released, but when it comes to lore, yes, it gives us some context, but not as much as the first one, I would say. I think the second one basically follows the same thing with some changes that you might have noticed. So I'm going to try to answer the title of this video. Why do the FNAF movie novels exist? Now, like I mentioned, they give context to the movies that the movies did not provide. So in the first one, it provides us on why Abby was born. Abby was born because it was out of necessity due to Garrett being taken. You see, the parents of Mike missed Garrett so much that they had another child to sort of like replace Garrett in a way. So that's the origin of Abby, and that was only explained in the novel, and the movie never mentions it at all. And in the second book, I mean, yes, there is some additional context, like for example, Lisa going through the newspapers about the FNAF 2 location and learning about what happened to Charlotte, but other than that, there's not a lot of additional content or information provided in the second book compared to the first one. What you could say is the benefit of reading these books is that you get more context, but like I mentioned, the first book provides more context than the second. Now, movie novels aren't a new thing. A lot of, you know, big movies do it. I believe The Hunger Games, some Star Wars have movie novels where they do the same thing as FNAF, where they, you know, change things up a little bit, and, you know, usually they're in their own continuity, so that means they're not canon to the actual, you know, movies that they're based off. And that's what these these novels are, is that they're not canon to the movies, but their own theme, because they're different compared to the movies, meaning that the FNAF movie novels are in its own timeline compared to the movies, so they're not sharing the same timeline, they're on their own, which can be kind of confusing to people introduced to FNAF, because you have to deal with the book, you know, the book continuity, and then you have to worry about the, you know, spin-offs, and then now with the FNAF movie, and then the FNAF movie books. So that's one problem about these books that, these books provide, is that they're on your own timeline. But these books just feel like a cash grab, which is another point that I'm going to make about, is that these books feel like cash grabs. I mean, there's a lot of grammatical mistakes in both these books, but I think the first one is worse compared to the second one, because the first one feels very rushed, because the first movie was kind of rushed. It went through different studios and directors, so the first one feels rushed. There's a lot of incomplete sentences, wrong words, missing periods, which, funny enough, actually happens in the second novel as well. And so these books do feel like a way for Scholastic to get their hands on some of the profits from the movies. And it's very interesting that they made the second one, because when I mentioned about the first FNAF movie novel before the second one even came out, most FNAF fans wouldn't tell you, and I didn't know the FNAF movie novel even exists, the first one, until I looked up on Amazon, and I just found that there's a FNAF movie novel. And then obviously with the second one, a lot of people knew about it, mainly because a lot of people did videos on the first one. In addition, there's a lot of controversy behind the second one, like I mentioned, making the characters creepy and still having that horrible writing from the second FNAF movie. That's my main theory on why these two books exist. It's because, first of all, I think it's a cash grab from Scholastic. Obviously, when you make books, you're supposed to make money, but I feel like these are ways for Scholastic to get their hands on some of the FNAF movie hype, and how much money the movies have made, and how to jump on that bandwagon. In addition, I think, they're pretty good in providing additional content and additional information as well in context. But overall, I feel like these books are just super lazy. I don't want to go into a review of it right now, because I already did a review of these books, and I'm just disappointed, and I think the FNAF 2 movie novel is the worst book. But other than that, there's nothing much to these books, and they're just cash grabs at the end of the day. They're just there, to exist. FNAF fans love reading the FNAF books. That's why we have so many of them, and so that's what these feel like. They just feel like they're just there for money and nothing else. And I wish Scott, maybe with the third novel, if they ever do one for the third novel, which they probably will be, because they did one for the first one and they did for the second one, so they're probably going to do one for the third one as well. So I really hope when the third one is being in production or being worked on or being written, I hope Scott is there just to oversee the book. I know he's retired, but it's just these books feel very lazy, very rushed as well, and they're pretty expensive as well, because I'm looking at the second FNAF movie novel. This one came out maybe like in May, and it's $15 for this book, which is absolutely crazy for a crappy novel. So I really hope they do fix the grammatical problems, and I hope for the images, if they do that for the next novel, they actually use some behind the scenes footage instead of images you can find on Google. So that's why I wanted to make this video. I just took a look at these books, and when I reread the first FNAF novel and I read the second one, I just thought to myself, why do these books exist? Well, I just basically answered it in this whole video. Money, and to give some context, not a whole lot. It still doesn't fix the problems of the movies, and that's what these books could have been. They could have been helping shift the movies in a way, or help explain things a lot clearer, and they do to a certain degree, until they make some parts more confusing, or yes, they solve a lot of mini problems that the movies had, but not to great detail. So I just really hope they lock in for this third one, and I love FNAF 3, so hopefully it turns out good. Who knows if the third movie will turn out good. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about, how these FNAF movie novels came to be, and why are they here, and that's just basically the whole gist of this video. So thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.